minutes. After that will be the CFA and you, just updates on the CFA exams, New Frontiers Learning Center and all. And then we take questions from the audience. I mean, we are here because of you. So tonight we'll take questions and answers from the audience, and we hope to wrap up in about 90 minutes from now. So welcome once again. And if you need to say anything, please use the chat box or the raise your hand feature, and then we can get into it tonight. Thank you once again for joining us. And like I typically do, I like to call names. So Eze, you're welcome. Magloria, you're welcome. Elder Jason, you're welcome. Adedolapo, you're welcome. And every other person on the call. So you're all welcome tonight. All right, so let's get straight into it. For me, I always tell candidates who try to get into the CFA program that, you see, there's no doubt about it. In fact, this is the only reason why a place like New Frontiers exists. We know that the exams are already difficult. The exams are difficult. The exams are challenging, right? And the only reason we exist is to see how we don't have that process complicated, right? So the first question I would like to address tonight is, why finance? You see, because you must have a very strong why. You must have a very strong why, because at some point in the program, it's easy to just hang your boots and say, who sent me work in the first place? I mean, who asked me to write this exam, right? I mean, I'm probably already a chartered accountant, or I'm probably this, I'm probably that. I don't even need this for my current role. Like someone was saying, one of our panelists was saying in the last call for level 1 last week. So why finance? So that's the first question. Why finance? What's your reason for picking up a career in finance, of all career options in this world? So why finance, and by extension, why the CFA designation? So I'll just go with you, Mr. Shegun.
Okay, thank you so much. I hopefully want you again for having me and for creating this platform for me to share my experiences and thoughts on this particular impact series. I followed the previous series, even though I didn't attend. I know that the feedback has been very positive. So this question, why finance, is something that is very easy for me to answer, really, because there is this thing that has become like a cliche. They say passion is everything. People say follow your passion and follow your dreams. And I will just say that right from time. In fact, in my undergraduate days, at a point, for some of people that are very close to me, they know this story really. I studied accounting, at least for my introduction earlier. You alluded to the fact that I studied accounting at the University of Benin. If some of us that know what happened in the 90s, accounting was one of those courses that every young person wanted to read in the university. Then MK Abiola, just like the way Jankote is today, MK was linking, and we studied accounting, and everybody wanted to follow his footsteps. So that was why I chose accounting. But something happened when I got into accounting. Even though I had the science background, I could have gone and read maybe chemical engineering in the university, but that was the course I wanted to read before I did that switch from science to the world of accounting and finance. So when I entered accounting, the very first time I would see an accounting textbook was even in my first year in the university. And I realized that going through the accounting first year, I realized I wasn't so much keen about accounting any longer, because even though I had a very strong background in mathematics, so I was more fascinated by economics. And that was why, fortunately, at Uniben, accounting and economics were in the same faculty. So it was easy for me to actually stick cool, because I had a lot of courses in economics, even up to my final year. So I actually wanted to change to economics in my second year, but it wasn't possible. Even though I was disappointed in first year, because when I wanted to get admission, they was offering me economics. I said, no, I must read accounting. So if there's anything I still wanted to do again, I would have loved to have read the economics, which is more related to accounting. I saw it for finance. Not necessarily the fact that accounting is not related, but economics is more suited for me, really. So it's something that has come naturally to me. And that was why even when I started my banking career back in the days, in the late 90s and early 2000s, I actually wanted to also pursue a master's program then in UI, monetary economics or financial economics. And that was what also informed the master's program I did after I took a sabbatical from work in 2008. I did investment management, which in some other courses, in some other universities like Oxford, they call it financial economics. So it's something that has always come naturally to me. So which is why it was easy for me. And that is why the school I went to in England, actually, the ICMA Center, is a program partner with the CFA Institute. So that was why I also chose that course, because it would easily enable me to actually prepare and go through the CFA program. And like you said earlier, this CFA is a very demanding program. So if you do not have that, if you have not decided, made up your mind to say you want to write it and you just want to follow the Joneses, as we say, you might not be able to see it through. So it's very, very important for you to make up your mind that what do you really want? Are you just trying to go with the flow, or just because everybody is writing CFA, then you just want to write? So because at a point you don't realize that it will get to a point you start asking yourself the question, who sent me this message, as we say in local parlance. So in a nutshell, that is what attracted me to finance. I hope I've answered your question.
Absolutely, you have. Thank you very much, Mr. Shegun. So it's a passion for finance. I remember one of our co-founders had also said at some point that there are people who in finance just coast through and through their career. But the people that really excel, right? There are people that really excel in that space. And one of the things that will make the difference is this passion, this love for finance. It's the reason why somebody would have had a first degree in medicine, or someone who would have had a first degree in chemical engineering, as your case is, Mr. Shegun, would, be comfortable with finance and with CFA program. So yes, it could be difficult, but it's designed for people. It's not designed for angels. The certification was not designed for angels. So it has to be human beings as well. But what kind of human beings? I think from what I hear you say, must be people who are passionate about finance, who have a strong why in that area. Thank you very much, Mr. Shegun. So Boluwatife, I'd like to hear from you. Why finance, and by extension, why the CFA designation?
Okay, thank you very much, Ayakunle. So basically, I grew up to look up to my dad, who had a career in accounting. My dad was a chartered accountant. So when I was younger, anytime they'd ask me, what do you want to be in the future? I'll just say I want to become an accountant, because basically that was what I was exposed to at a very young age. So following that, I studied accounting. I have an undergraduate degree in accounting from the University of Lagos. So while I was in school, I got introduced to other aspects of finance. And after then, I also started working in a financial institution. So I saw that finance was actually so broad. There were so many other interesting aspects to it. So I decided to explore some of those other aspects instead of just everyday debit credit. So the major reason for taking on the CFA program is just to be able to see how I can play in other areas of finance and just to explore more challenging aspects of it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well,
thank you.
That's great. Thank you for that. So it looks to me like, so there is finance, but it looks like, and I think a lot of people are still making these same mistakes. So a lot of people still think that accounting and finance, are the same thing, right? So it's when they get in, like Mr. Shegun said, in his first year, and he saw the course content or whatever it was they would be doing, he wasn't so excited, as it would have been. So I think this is something that we would be looking into, because there is a dearth of information out there. People are not exactly aware of what it is, of what the differences are really. They are not exactly aware. Okay, thank you very much. So let's jump straight into level 2. This is level 2 talk. I mean, this question I want to ask you now is actually the reason why we came tonight, right? And I'll start with you, Boluwatife. The thing about level 2, what were your biggest memories? I think we should start from there. What were your biggest memories? What would you say were your biggest memories for level 2? What was level 2 like for you?
So level 2, No, they usually say that level 2 is the hardest level of the CFA program, and I completely agree because it was a lot. So level 2 was very interesting for me because that was when like the pandemic was in full effect. So we had to switch to the virtual classes. So we had to take classes online. So making that switch was a bit difficult for me, like to focus and just fully immerse yourself in the like lessons. So it was a bit of a challenge for me. Then also like another very interesting thing was that, so I took the February classes at New Frontiers, but I didn't write my exams until November. So like you can look at that and say, oh, I had more time to prepare. But honestly, I feel like that made it a bit more difficult for me because it was very hard to keep up the momentum of studying. Like, you have to constantly, like at some point you just be like, I'm tired. But yeah, so that really made it a bit difficult for me. There were a lot of sleepless nights. There were a lot of sacrifices. Like, you see everybody having fun, but you have to sit down at home and read your books. So yes, level 2 was very interesting for me, and the whole pandemic and the uncertainties around that time made it a bit more challenging than it would have been. But yeah, it was. I'm happy to be done with it now.
Okay. This is like, I mean, I'll be surprised if it's a different story from Mr. Shegun, but I like that you have gone generally. But before I go to Mr. Shegun, do you have any specifics that happened at that time that were really big memories for you? So anyone?
Okay, so I remember like one day I was studying and I was studying fixed income to be precise. And
so everybody talks about fixed income.
And it was just looking like the thing wasn't entering or it wasn't. So I was just really struggling. And I remember I just had to start crying, like, who sent me to do this thing? Like, why am I even here? Like, why did I put myself in this position? So that was one memorable time for me. Like that night really stood out for me. And I just took a break. And after a while, I had to like go back to my books. And I'm honestly very happy that I passed and that I'm done with it. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure there are people in the audience who have the same stories, and if you can relate to whatever it is that we are saying, I think you can drop a message in the chat just to make this more engaging. If you've cried before, and this is not, I'm sure in the CFA community, it's nothing new. It's not, I mean, nobody will laugh at you if you have, but really, if you can relate with any of these things, just let's engage about it in the chat box and let's move on. So Mr. Shegun, you are a veteran, right? So it's been ages, whether as a charter holder, in terms of when you wrote your level 2 exams, on like Bolu who passed, last November. I mean, right now, I mean, you are colleagues, so it's fine. Or you will be colleagues when she's a charter holder, as it were, right? There's no discrimination whether you passed your charter 20 years. I mean, I work in this space and I know how charter holders relate with candidates. It's the same. There is no, they hardly make any distinction about it, and that's the beautiful thing about the CFA designation. But again, I know we can learn a lot from you, whether it's the fact that from the perspective that you've been lecturing in this CFA space for about 12 years now, and that you've been about 10 to 12 years now, and that you earned your charter and passed level 2 several years ago. So what are your biggest memories, whether as a faculty member, in relationship with other students, or your own stories? We'd like to hear it.
Okay, thank you so much. I was laughing when Bolu was actually speaking, saying that she cried one night. I was asking her, who said me? I have said it before. Even the same thing for level 3 at the point. Even though you're like I told you, something I always wanted to do. And sometimes also I failed to add in that first question was the fact that when I started my career too, I was in the back office operations in banking. And at the point, I wanted to make that switch. So it was becoming a bit difficult. And I realized that I needed to actually go for my master's investment management, which is something I really wanted to do, and also do the CFA exam. So even it was something that I really know I wanted to do. So I was self-motivated. But at the point in level 3, and I realized that some friends that also qualified. When one day we were just sharing it, we were just laughing, and we did the induction at the same time. And the guy was also telling me the same thing, that in level 3, at the point, he was just like, why am I even doing this thing? Because you realize that you put in so much into this program, and you'll be wondering. So, which is why I always tell people, especially when I advise candidates and prospective candidates, that do you think this thing, do you really want to do this? So it's not about trying to follow people, just like what's happening now. People are doing jackpot. You also, I've always been very independent minded. I don't follow the crowd. So don't follow the crowd. That is one thing I want to say again. But regarding the question about my biggest memory for level 2, and also, sorry, what Bulu also said about the level 2 is the most difficult. You know, that is really debatable. A lot of people actually say 2 is it. And I agree to a large extent, because the volume of material you have to go through and the level of complexity compared to level 1, you cannot compare level 2 to level 1. And that is why I also advise students, when you want to, especially people that pass level 1 once, they just want to rush into level 2. I'm like, hang on a minute. If you have to double your effort, the fact that you pass level 1, if you want to use that same strategy you adopted in level 1 for level 2, it might not work. Most times it doesn't work, because people will now write level 2, they will now have that first choker. The result will come out, it doesn't come out positive, because they felt that level 2 is really a bit much more difficult than level 1. But level 3 can also present your own challenges, for the fact that that is the first time you introduce essay questions, and you now have to get used to how to answer essay questions, which actually is one of the most challenging reasons why level 3 is also a bit difficult. But in terms of difficulty and the volume of work you have to cover, I think level 2 is the most challenging in that regard. So, but in terms of your question, really answering you directly, it's a bit difficult, just like you said. It's something I did over 10 years ago. So I think one thing that really stood out, that I can still very remember, that I can never forget about that level 2, was that first attempt. About level 2, when I failed the exam at the first attempt. And before the result came out, I knew that I might not likely pass. And the reason was because, and I was angry because at failing the exam, not because I failed, but because, in my very humble opinion, I felt that it was just due to lack of comprehension and understanding. It was not because I didn't understand the curriculum really, or maybe I didn't understand the material, but mostly due to the strategy and the approach I adopted in answering questions in the real exam, in that first attempt. You know, unlike today now, you are spoiled for choice. You have this in past series. As at that time, I think maybe New Frontier was just, I don't even know whether things that started when I wrote my first level 2 rather. So I didn't started. So you didn't even have people that had qualified. It's very rare to find people that are charter holders. So you just have to go the whole on your own. So that was the first time I would just see item setters now, what we call business, or what you can call case study. So that format, when I was writing the first attempt, I was now trying to go through read through the case study first before going to attempt the questions. And that wasted a lot of time. So before I could know it, they said 1 hour to go. I realized I've not even covered half of the questions. So I was sweating the exam. In an AC hall, I was sweating. So that memory I can't really forget. I think that was something that really stood out for level 2 for me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheng. I mean, I can imagine 1 hour to go and you are not anywhere close. It just destabilizes you. It just demoralizes you. You practically won't even know what to do or where to continue from. Wow, that was quite an experience. Thank you very much for sharing. I mean, charter holders always have interesting stories. Is it the person who went to write his exam in Dubai and got there and somehow his bags didn't arrive, but he was there and said, okay, why waste this chance? And he went to the mall. I went to the Dubai Mall and, and enjoyed himself that evening, hoping that his bag would be back later. Because he felt, why miss out on the fun? My bags are not here, my revision books are not here. So what will I do anyway? So
speaking of that, I just remember a friend too that we had to write that exam, that level 2, I think my second attempt in Ghana. And the guy, at the point of boarding, that was when they said they changed his passport to this computerized passport. Yeah. And they said the guy couldn't fly. That guy had to now go and try to get to now, instead of flying, he had to now go go by road that Friday night. While I was entering the exam, that morning in Ghana, I was still calling him. As I mentioned, he was still on the road. So we had actually started exam like 30 minutes before he actually now came into the exam. I just tell you the kind of commitment people have, and because people are just self-driven to write this exam, and the guy didn't give up, and he actually came to write the exam. Unfortunately, he didn't pass, but at least gave it a try.
Yeah.
So the exam had started like 30 minutes before I actually arrived. That exam. So people have funny stories, really.
No, that's really serious. Thank you very much. People have all kinds of CFA stories. It's amazing.
And today it's a charter holder has been chartered for some time.
Wow,
so
excellent.
It's all about perseverance, really.
Yeah. So your why must be strong. Your reason for writing the exams must be strong, because the thing will test you at some point in time. And I think, just like I usually say, when I have to speak at engagements, the place of a training, I think that, for example, when you are in any professional development or anything as a training, the reason why it's called a training suggests that you're on a train. And it means that you're moving from here to there. It's always a journey. Some will pass at one attempt. Some will have to retake levels. Some would have all kinds of experiences, but ultimately getting to the destination, at the end of the day, with the CFA at the back of your name, it's the ultimate goal. And we're hoping that with this session tonight, we'll be able to help somebody at least move closer, to achieving their goals. Now, let's get into this one. This one is the very reason we came tonight. I've heard you talk about the strategy. That's Mr. Shegun. I've heard you talk about the strategy with which you adopted in writing the level 2 exam on your first attempt, and you didn't pass. Which is the reason why. Well, there are many reasons people struggle with the CFA exams, but it won't be out of place to say that one of the reasons why people do not pass the CFA exams at whatever level, sometimes, or any exams at any point, is that they are not strategic in their approach to study, right? There are optimal tips. I was interacting with some level 2 students last week, and they told me that there is a way teachers come to class. They call them quick wins, and we hope that we can bring this, public, to help as many people as we can in the public space as well. That when you're teaching in class, there are quick wins. There's a way the teacher tells you, when you see a question like this and this and this is what you pay attention to, and you don't really need to sweat it through, right? Just quick wins like that, to pass, to be able to pick on questions and pass your exams. Now, what would you say from your experience and from your interaction with people? I will expect that you spend a lot of time on this question, because this is one about, if not the most important question tonight. The reason why students skip is what would you say, right? From your perspective as a candidate, that's Golu Atifena, or from your perspective as a charter holder, and even as a teacher, as someone who has been teaching, a faculty member for the CFA program, what would you say are optimal tips, right, and strategy? Or what's the optimal strategy, or what tips can you share when it comes to acing the CFA exams, particularly for level 2, not just the CFA exams generally? I think there is some peculiarity to the level 2 exams that I will need you to address in terms of your tips and the strategies that you have found. You've passed through this, and there are a lot of people out there who just need to pass these exams, and we like to know what those tips and strategies are. So you could speak from the perspective of a student, a charter holder, or faculty member, whether strategies you've used yourself or strategies you've had other people use, and just take your time on this question, because this is really why we came tonight. So if you're able to do that, we can get it. So I'll throw it open. Any of you can go first. Bolu can go first. Rashem can go first. So I'll just leave it to you.
Maybe Bolu should go first. I just spoke now, and she's also fresh.
All right, that's fine. Sure. Plus, again, ladies first. Anyway, so.
Okay, so I'll start with like the more general tips, or the more like common things that maybe everyone should do. So I would say like the first thing is to acknowledge that not one size fits all. Like what works for everybody is going to be different. Like whatever strategy that works for me might not necessarily work for the next person, because we all have like different circumstances. Like some people are working, some people are not working, some people have families, some people don't. So you just really have to find out what works best for you, the study hours that work for you, the study times, and just you need to figure out what works for you. I think that's the first thing. That's the first step. Then also I would say that you need to give yourself enough time to prepare, because I feel like one of the things that can psych you out even before you take the exam is when you feel unprepared. So you need to give yourself enough time, take as much time as you need to prepare, go through all the content of the curriculum or whatever that you're using. Just make sure that you have gone through, like you are fully prepared to the best of your ability to take the exams. Also, I would say practice questions, because it's one thing to understand the concepts, it's one thing to read and understand, but it's another thing to know how they can be tested, because sometimes you can understand the concept, but you don't like by the time you see the question and how they have set the question and how it's been tested, it can throw you off. And before you even gather your thoughts and gather your bearings, time is going. By the time you realize what time is going, you begin to get scared and it just throws you off the whole thing. So also you need to practice a lot of questions. You can do mock tests and just use all the resources that are available to you, really. And also I think that you should take very good care of yourself, of your health, and even mentally as well. If you feel like you need breaks, you should take breaks, because some days you're able to give 150%, some days you're only able to give 20%. The thing is not to give up, consistency. Each day, just no matter how difficult it might be, just put in something. And whenever you feel like you need to take breaks, and as soon as you feel up to it, you continue. As for, just take care of your, eat well, get in as much sleep as you can. That can be very difficult, but just try so that you don't break down and at the end of the day, it's all for nothing. So as Mr. Shagun spoke about earlier, like one thing that really helped me was attending New Frontiers. The lecturers would tell you, this one is not level 1 where you have just objective questions. You have to, because now you have like a bigger text to read, and then there are like questions beneath it. So first of all, read the questions, the options, so you have an idea of what you're looking for in the text material, so that you save yourself some time. So I think that's one of the things that really helps as well. So just first go through the questions, and then it's very easy for you to identify key words or key answers, key things that point to your answers as well. And just put in your best, pray if you believe in that. And I think for me, those are the tips that I have to share.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bolu Atife. Thank you. That was quite a lot. I was writing myself. Before we move to Mr. Shagun to take his thoughts, so the audience, I need to be sure that you are following. So what I usually do is to say, so this is the time where I need you to type in the comment section. Anything you picked from what Bolu said, in the chat section rather. Anything you picked from what Bolu said, I need to know that you're engaging. This is how I know that we are adding value and that you are picking something. So please, anything you picked from what Bolu said, thank you, Ayomide. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself with several exclamation marks at the end. Take care of yourself. Thank you. I mean, it's very possible to lose yourself in the midst of preparing for this. Thank you, Oladotun. Strike a balance with health. Strike a balance with health. Okay, it looks like all the level 2 people are picking on just one point. Tumishe is saying sleep. How do you tell a CFA candidate to sleep, really, but this is really important. This is very important. Thank you, Tumishe. Sleep, I mean, you just took that out of our mouth, sleep. Isaiah said, know which study method works for you. This is something that you must have picked at some point, partly because we are different in our natures, partly because our circumstances are different, and also partly because the CFA exams are different, right? So there is the part where maybe in your university days, you figured out you are not nocturnal, you don't read at night, and it's important that you pay attention to that. Okay, thank you. So consistency, Ijoma says consistency. Thank you. Oledolapo says the same to be consistent. Oh, Ayomide. So Ayomide is presently in the hospital because he's been trying to read and the pressure of work at the same time. His body is angry with him. He broke down yesterday. Sorry, Ayomide. Wish you quick recovery and you will be fine. I'm sure, I hope one day I'll be able to get you on this program as well to be able to share your stories with upcoming people. I'm sure you would be able to pass very, very soon. Bele, please take good care of yourself, and we hope that you'll be back to your books and back to the exam very soon. Sorry. Okay, Sheyi Kolaole says, now this is important. It says, don't leave out derivatives and alternative investment. Smallest weightings, but he regretted this. Oh, sorry. Wow. So again, this is that thing that goes on with the entire with the CFA program. You can't leave out anything, isn't it? You really can't leave out anything. Thank you, Sheyi, for mentioning that one. Yeah. Feel better. I'm there. Get better. I'm there. Get well. Thank you, everyone. That was good. Boluwatife had also spoken about timing, about how you don't want to be in that circumstance which Mr. Shegun was saying. They say 1 hour to go and you didn't know what to do, right? That's important. She also mentioned reading the questions first. Yeah, this is important. I remember this is a tip that used to help with answering comprehension questions back then in school. When you have seen the question before reading the stories, it just helps, right? And because your exams are vignette supported, has a short episode. If you have read what the questions is, I have an idea what the question is, then you can begin to know the key points that will lead you to your questions. So it's important to read the questions first. Thank you very much. Practice questions, yeah. Prepare fully, find what works for you, and pay attention to your health. I think we can't overflog that, and we can't mention that too much. And I think the CFA program can be demanding. And what's the point of preparing so well, and at the point of the exam, your body fails you? So it's I think the CFA exam also has a way of making you a master planner, turning you into a master planner, helping you to be able to balance things very well. Know that it's important to pay attention to your body and pay attention to it. I mean, you'll get the signals when you are not on top of it. And sometimes, just like Bolu was saying, I think after that night when she cried, she said she took a break, and it was really, really helpful. So sometimes you might need to take a break. And when you are confused, speak to somebody. I think and that's why we are doing what we do here tonight. Thank you very, very much, Bolu Atife. That was very helpful. Thank you everyone for participating. So let's move to Mr. Sherman.
All right, thank you so much. I think Bolu has even made it easier for me because I think some of the points I will also have talked about, she has actually mentioned some of them. But having said that, I think I will still just emphasize some of the points as well. I also talked about that strategy earlier, which is related to the previous question, that one of the things that the format for level 2 is different from level 1. So now you have what we call case studies, unlike level 1 that you just have series of multiple questions. So you need to understand that difference, that change in the way the exam is set, the structure of the exam. But let me just start by saying the very first thing I just mentioned, and this is not applicable to just passing CFA level exam generally, or it's just but the CFA curriculum, so level 1 across levels, not just applicable to level 2. Is the fact that it's what we call preparation. And she also mentioned it, but I still want to emphasize that you cannot overemphasize having adequate preparations, because there are no shortcuts to passing this exam. There are some exams that you can easily gain, but CFA is much more difficult to gain. And just like I think what she either mentioned something about leaving out alternative investment and one other David are feeling that they have smaller weight, and he ended up regretting it. And why is that so? It's even becoming more and more difficult now that you cannot say you want to leave some part. You have to prepare adequately. You just have to burn the midnight oil. And this has become much more difficult, especially in the way the structure of the exam. Like back in our own time, you have about how many questions? 120 questions, 60 in the morning and 60 in the afternoon. Now, the number of questions has drastically reduced. I guess it's about 44, right? 44 in the morning and 44 in the afternoon. So meaning that the margin for error is even now smaller. So that is why you have to cover every area. So every one question you miss is much more difficult for you to recover from that. Because when you can imagine, for all of us that, at least most of us that have, I'm very sure at that time basic mathematics. So imagine when you have 120 questions. And there's something we always say about CFA, even though nobody knows exactly the minimum passing score, what we call the minimum passing score. When you have more questions to answer, then the margin for error is higher, isn't it? Yeah. Because you can afford to miss some questions, and you still pass because you still be able to hit that 70. So just imagine when you had about in the morning, in our own day, when we have 120 questions, you realize that you can still afford to even, maybe by the time you score an average of maybe 80 something, 80, 85 out of 120. So you can still afford to meet like 35 questions and still hit that 70% target. But now that you have about 44 plus 44 is 80, 88 rather. So that means the margin for error, the number of questions you can afford to miss has reduced. You cannot afford to miss more than 25 questions if you are targeting that 70%. So that brings the fact that you just have to prepare, make sure you cover every area. And now there is randomness in the way they set the questions. They can come from any area. And because of the fact that the number of questions are so small, you realize that, for instance, in a subject like, say, economy, where you have maybe like 6 readings or 6 or 7 readings, and they're just going to be setting 4 questions or maybe 4 or 5 in economics or 5. So imagine that the area you leave out and you think is not important, they now decide to bring 2 questions from there and 3 questions. You realize you fail economics, and the same will go for every other area as well. So it's very important to prepare adequately for this exam. So you just have to burn the midnight or last week, always saying back in the day. So secondly, just like Bulu also mentioned this, you just have to also, after reading every reading you have, you just also have to try and look and solve the end of chapter questions at the end of each reading. And why is that important? Because just like she mentioned something, we could have read something, I believe you understand it. But the truth is that the way CFA also set questions, they usually focus on more of applications. How do you apply all these things in real life? So they're not trying to just, in Nigeria, whereby you just do just read and cram. It's not about cramming. So that will actually bring out the fact that you enable you to gauge your level of understanding and assimilation of the concept that you've already covered in that particular reading. So it's very, very important to solve every end of chapter questions. Not just solving them. The questions you got correctly, try and go. Unfortunately, the curriculum is very, very robust. They will tell you why the option A is correct. So you need to even go back to the answer to say, okay, even you got it correctly, go and read the reasons why they say that question, option A is correct, whether you align with your principle for solving it in the first instance. And those questions that you also did miss as well, why did you miss them? Why? And all those keywords that you also need to be focused. They can say, which of this is least? Least is saying it's not. Sometimes you also face some questions because you did not pay attention to those small details. When even the question itself, you might know it, but just because when they say which of these is least a factor, you will now think you are talking about which of this is a factor. So you can use that one to miss that. So the third point I also mentioned is, after all the preparation said and done, you also have to create time for revision, at least, and practice mock exams. Preferably, I would suggest maybe a month before the exam date. It's very, very important because fortunately, you have a band of past exam questions that you can go through. But you're also going through the past exam mock questions. The only danger there is that, the curriculum is also changing. So if you are solving mock exam that is too detailed, it might also be a challenge because there are some of those mock exams, maybe they've removed from that particular level or they're out of the curriculum entirely, or even they've modified the reading. maybe the formula you used to have in the past. For example, in corporate finance, there is this formula on dividend residual, how you calculate dividend, or using the what is it called? The dividend types of dividend policy payout. That formula is valid now. That formula for level 2. The formula we use when we vary our own is different from what you have in the current curriculum. So if you are solving past question or exam, you have to be conversant with some of those little details. It's very important to solve so to even gauge your exam. And when you are doing the mock exam, try to time your exam, to time yourself to see whether you are writing the exam under exam condition. I used to do that. If you had the time allotted for, you used to be 3 hours, I think it's less than 3 hours. Time yourself within that 3 hours or 2.5 hours that they are going to give you. And once you are done, you time yourself and stop and try to mark it to see whether you will be able to finish within the allotted time, because it's also important to make sure you finish within that allotted time. Another point I also mentioned is also the strategy, which I don't want to overflow. I think we already mentioned that. Because it's item set, you just go to, fortunately, the way they said the case study, each paragraph more or less addresses one question. So when they ask question 1, probably it might be just paragraph 1. When you go and read that question, just go to paragraph 1, address that question. Paragraph 2, address question 2, and that same way, rather than wasting time to go into the case study first before you go to the questions. So in that way, you save a lot of valuable time in the exam. So you save a lot of valuable time in the exam. So it's very, very important to just focus on the strata strategy. It's very, very important for level 2. And for level 2, just like I mentioned, the level of detail, it's also a level of complexity. And another thing is, I also always tell people, even for as when we teach students the exam, there is a limit to what you can cram for this exam. This exam is a lot of volume. So what you need to focus is just trying to understand the concept. If I also tell people, sometimes it feels a bit strange that even the formulas, for me, I don't cram formula. I try to understand the logic behind the formula, because there is a story behind every formula. If you understand that story, and that's what we call logic, the why, easily you can derive those formulas. And it is also easy for you to apply them, because sometimes some question will not even require you to solve. Once you understand, it might sound like a calculation question, but because you understand how that formula, the logic behind the formula, you can easily figure out how to solve some question without necessarily solving. Some questions do not require you to solve, even though there are figures attached to them, because of the fact that you understand the concept very well. And which is related to this last point I want to make, because this is something that has worked for me in my life, not just in my academic pursuit, not just in the CFA exam. And this principle is very, very important for passing any exam, whether it's CFA exam or any exam. And I was just illustrating with a story. I remember back in the day when I was in undergraduate at the University of Benin. In our final year, there is we have for those of that attended University of Benin, know this professor, those that even study accounting generally or ICANN, here and now, is one of those preeminent professors of accounting back in the day. He later became vice chancellor of Uniben before he retired. The very first class we attended, because everybody was looking forward to that final year, because once you pass the advanced financial accounting 1 and the 2 in the university, that means you are sure you graduate, because if you don't go through now, you will not graduate. And the very first class, we were all looking forward to that first class, the first advanced financial accounting class. And when the man came in the first 2-hour lecture, you will be surprised that the man did not teach us anything. All he taught us for that 2 hours was, he just wrote on the board the question why. And that was what he talked through in that exam, in that lecture. And what he was emphasizing in that thing was saying everything about study or anything is just based on asking that question, why? Why did they say this? Why is this statement correct? Why is 1 + 1 equal to 2? If you can figure out the why, it becomes very easy for you to
determine the how. Oh, it's just me. We are losing you. Oh, the chat is frozen. Can anyone hear? Okay, it's back.
Hello, can you hear me?
We lost you briefly. But it's okay,
sorry. And so I say which is related to what I was talking about, that just understand the question why. And when the man finished that lecture, I just validated my position that I always had towards my approach to reading, even when I was secondary school. It was always trying to ask myself, as I'm reading any material, is subconsciously I'm asking myself, why? Why did they make this statement? Once I figure out the why, I move on. So I don't cram. So it becomes easy for you to understand. That is one strategy that I want to encourage a lot of us to try and do, especially for this exam, because you have a lot of material to cover and you cannot cram. When you cram, you can run mental. And that is why Bolu is also talking about taking care of your head. You can just take time to rest sometimes, because sometimes when you have information overload, your brain is saturated. Trying to force your brain to, you will not be able to take something. Sometimes you just try and take a view, go out and just play for 1 hour or 2 hours, come back. But just try to time yourself and be consistent, as she mentioned as well. So that last story about the question why, I think I will end and stop here for now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. I mean, I see people already thanking you for the great tip. Thank you so much. I'm glad we are adding value from the one about the one paragraph per question to all the ones you have shared. Yeah, Ijoma says thank you. Shay says thank you. All right, good. Okay, so guys, let's do it again before we take a summary. Let's drop those things Mr. Shogun had mentioned, and let's see how we can. Let's see. I just need to know that value is being added and that you're following. So let's engage at that point. This is very strong. This is really good. And someone had already mentioned the one about the one paragraph per question, which was also talked about while Bolu was speaking about how you should read the questions before. How she said the teacher told her at New Frontiers that you read the questions before taking the cases. Thank you. Yeah, understanding why, very key. Yeah, understanding why, that is very key. The moment you understand why, it's easier for you to bring out the formula, bring up any other thing that underlies what is being requested. Understanding why. When you understand the why, then you know, then you will get the how. It's easy. The why first, then the how follows on how to do it. So there has to be a story behind every formula. There has to be a story behind every reading. There has to be something that is underlying what they are trying to get across to you, or what the question is trying to ask from you, right? And the moment you get that, it's easy. So thank you very much, Eze. Thank you, Joma. So any other thing anybody picked from Mr. Shogun's session? I like doing this just to be sure that people are following. It's important. I need to know that you are following and they are listening. Okay, so thank you. So I think I saw that chat. Yeah, Sheyi says it was an eye-opener, knowing that the reduced number of questions didn't exactly make the exam easier like I thought. It actually emphasizes accuracy. I know better now. Thank you, Sheyi. That's very true. I mean, fewer questions now, more and so more
margin for error is smaller.
Exactly, it's slimmer now, yeah, and more how do I put it, more points to each questions now, right? So because it's fewer, yeah. So again it's a game of speed and accuracy, isn't it? All right. So there is the accuracy part. You can't even afford to miss any question anymore. That's what it means. But people have done this before and they have passed, and that's why we're holding this. Thank you very much, Shay. That was an elaborate one. Do we have any other one? While we're waiting for that, I had Mr. Shegun talked about creating time for revision. That's very true. Very true. You want to be refreshed and going into the exam fresh, ensuring that you have captured the things that you pay attention to. Mock exams, yes, solve past questions, but again, ensure that you are solving it within the context of the newness of the curriculum. I also think that the CFA Institute has an ecosystem right now that helps students with several thousands of questions in that place. It would be good to ensure that you take a look at that as well. Yeah, questions first before the case studies. We can't overemphasize that. inadequate preparation. Thank you very much, Mr. Shogun. That was really, really helpful. Bolu, did anything else come to your mind in addition? Because that typically happens on this session.
I think Mr. Shegun has really covered the most important points, the revision, the mocks. Yes, very important.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I have two more questions, but let's see. This one I'll say is, so there's no doubt about it that some people take the exams on their own, self-studying, and there's no doubt that some people go to classes. So would you say that there is any value in going to classes? Bolu, let me start from you.
Okay, so I would say there's definitely value in taking classes, because the first thing that it does is it provides you with a community of people that are going through the same process or that are in the same position that you're in. So it just makes you feel like you're not alone. You have other people that you can speak to, you have other people you can study with, you have other people you can bounce ideas off of. So the first thing is that it helps you with that. Also, because you have people that are explaining the general concepts to you, by the time you're studying by yourself, it makes it easier for you to retain and for you to remember later on, because it's not very new to you anymore. Like, if anything, you're just trying to go more in depth. So it makes it easier for you to remember and to also retain when you are studying by yourself. I would also say, like, there are some general knowledge and tips, like the ones Mr. Shegun has just shared with us, that reading by yourself, there's no way you'd have access to these tips, to these strategies. So these are also like advantages of attending classes, because most of the all the faculty members, I believe, are people that have gone through the process before. So they're able to tell you things to avoid, pitfalls to avoid, mistakes that they made that you can avoid, that'll make your own journey easier. And they also tell you things that really helps them along their journey as well. So I think that those are some of the great benefits of attending classes. And you have people, you can form study groups, you can have accountability partners from your classmates. It just really builds a community of support for you, like just helps to support you all through the process.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bolu. So typically a community of people and tips, and strategies for the exams. Thank you. So Mr. Shegun, is there value to attending classes? Before I ask about, you are a teacher, so hopefully you can tell, is this still a joke, or does it have any value?
Okay, let me on the lighter note there, just like I think Bolu mentioned something about know yourself too. That is very, very important, because I might be the wrongest, let me put in quote, wrongest person to ask about lectures, because typically, generally, because of my kind of person, I believe more on self-reading, which is the question why I was talking about earlier. But having said that, you cannot overemphasize it. First of all, you need to understand, know yourself. Do you need help? If you feel that you need help, because some people, they study better when they are in the community of people, so they can share ideas and bounce off ideas, people. And when they hear, because by hearing and saw a concept in class being said, they catch it better than going through them by themselves. So for that, I would say, and if class doesn't have value, maybe I will not be, and maybe news frontier will not even exist in the first instance. So having said that, the obvious fact, one thing that will also come to me, because I will talk about from the perspective of a tutor, because I didn't attend classes. Even if there were classes at that time, I'm very sure I would have attended classes, but then there was no news frontier anyway. So it made it easier for me to even study on my own. So, but the obvious fact I will mention regarding from the tutors is the fact that I think Bolu has mentioned in a way, because of the level of complexity of level 2. For instance, you can easily maybe sometimes study level 1 on your own and pass, but level 2 becomes a different kettle of fish altogether. And maybe you also helped me, because I already had masters in investment management from England, which is actually based on the CFA curriculum. So when I was studying for level 2, level 3, all the concepts were not new to me. Exactly the fixed income derivatives that people talk about. We did a lot of practical in school then, so it was something that I could easily relate with, as opposed to somebody that never studied abroad, that didn't even study finance to start with. even people that study finance or accounting in Nigeria, because of the level, the kind of curriculum what we still battle in Nigeria, they will be hearing some of these concepts for the very first time. So it looks so esoteric. So you might need help a lot of time for them to be able to break down some of these concepts to you. So a lot of the concepts that seem very complex, but because of the shared experience of the tutors, because most of them are also practitioners in the field, you can imagine somebody that is trading is a trader, a born trader. It will be easier for that person to teach fixed income because it's not just teaching theory, it's teaching with practice. Or somebody that is a derivatives trader. So because he has seen the application of this concept in real life. And that is one thing sometimes when people are reading the quant and all of that, you feel that they are not applicable. But the reality is just because the level of our financial market is not as developed as what you have elsewhere. Most of these things you see in the CFA curriculum, they have practical applications. So it's easier for you to hear from the masters, those that have actually be a practitioner, like corporate finance, a lot of the concepts I teach because of I've engaged in financial advisory and all that. You can actually bring some of those practical examples to the class, which will make it easier for you to relate and to be able to remember them, rather than just sitting in your corner and trying to figure out this complex concept by yourself. So for that reason, I think it's something that is very, very important, especially those that don't have any background in finance at all. So it will add a lot of value to attend class because so many complex concepts can be broken down easily. And that question of why, like when I teach any CFA classes, anything that involves theory, formulas, I try to explain the logic, like I told you earlier, behind the formula to students so that they can appreciate the logic the same way. And once you figure out that logic, it becomes easier for you to actually answer questions relating to those kind of topics.
True.
So this is why it's able to explain the why and the logic behind complex concept, the formula application. Then aside the learning, which is the reason why you attend New Frontier, one important thing that is also important, learning under highly experienced and qualified tutors I mentioned, the sheer quality of the network among the candidates too is on one hand, and the lecturer and candidate too on the other is also second to none. You know, the reality is that you are trying to pass CFA exam, just to better your career, to enhance your career, better your life. But the truth is that there's always this cliche. Life, you don't only succeed based on what you know. You also succeed based on who you know. Isn't it? True. So, and that is why even New Frontier has become also like we have a job board now, because we realize that most of the jobs, some job applications, somebody will just tell me and say, Asheba, I need somebody, chartered accountant. All I would just do is to call your routine and say, New Frontier, can you get somebody? And they post it in the platform for level 1, level 2, or level 3. So networking is another very important reason why New Frontier is very good. And I've even benefited as a tutor because I realized that a lot of people, there is hardly any office I go to now. If I need anything in any office, I just remember I have a student that I taught maybe 5 years ago. All I need is just pick my phone and call that person and get it done. So the networking is also very, very important, aside from just passing the exam. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So absolutely. So what you're saying is teachers' rewards are no longer in heaven, right? So in essence, teachers' reward is in heaven. As a matter of fact, the question I asked you was, in fact, just to talk about just between self-study and and taking classes. In fact, I had not even asked about New Frontiers at all, but apparently you had already answered the questions in talking about the experience of faculty. The community of people is what it is. So people are not how do I put it now? People won't do it if it doesn't work. And we won't even be having this conversation tonight if it doesn't work, really. And like I'll be saying in just about 10 minutes, we'll take a few things. So, but before then, I can see Shegun Oladoto ask a question. Is there a plan to keep the cohort together for knowledge sharing? I hope I don't get exactly. When you say cohort, do you mean classes, community of folks in New Frontiers? Or
maybe during question and answer, you can
address that
and let him speak. Maybe during question and answer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So let's do that. And Patrick, I see that fantastic points. That's okay. All right, okay. So she said, having done both lectures with NF and self-study, I think because of the unique nature of CFA, it might be important to take lectures, especially with NF, lol, laugh out loud, or at least start up with lectures, a lot of vital exam tips, study strategies, and fantastic networking opportunities. I would say self-study is for more mature students and also maybe depending on your schedule, because the discipline and motivation required to stay on course till the finish is truly next level. Thank you very much, Shay. I mean, you literally took this to another level. Thank you very much. I mean, this is just like a student testimonial. This just works perfect. There's no much to say about New Frontiers again. As a matter of fact, let me just move on. So at this point of the program, I know a lot has been said, questions have been answered. So what I will allow you to do is to start sending in your questions, raise your hands if you have questions. But just before then, I will take something called CFA and You, a very short presentation. And it doesn't take, it's usually supposed to last for 15 minutes, but I will do it in 10 because I need you to be back here to take all your questions. So please get your question, just start dropping your questions in the comment section, in the chat box. I keep saying comment section, in the chat box. And if you have any, if you have comments as well, you can drop them there. And if you want to be unmuted, please raise your hand. In the meantime, I'll just share my screen. Please confirm that you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so can everyone see? Okay, let me read in the chat and be sure. Okay, thank you, Gemma. Gemma says yes, so it means at least I get confirmation from 2 people. So, welcome. So this is us. This is yeah. So this is where we are. So this is a review from Olua Pelumi Fadola, who says, I received my charter today, having passed the 3 levels of the CFA program at first attempt and met the requirements of the CFA Institute. It was quite a journey, and I'm really grateful for this milestone. Many thanks to the tutors at New Frontiers Learning Center for the knowledge shared. So this is Olua Pelumi Fadola, this was a LinkedIn review, and he allowed us make use of this tonight. So the CFA program, of course, is the #1 finance designation in the world. And there are about 200,000 charter holders right now, about 200,000 charter holders. The number in Nigeria is growing rapidly. It's amazing. Nigeria is getting traction on the CFA map very, very seriously on a daily basis. We hope that we will be able to boast of fair, transparent, and highly developed capital markets and finance and investment industry in a few more years, right? And at the center of that, New Frontiers is going to be responsible for helping a lot of people on this journey, like we've been doing anyway. Of course, the charter requires that you pass 3 levels of exams, 36 months of qualifying work experience, and pledging to adhere to the code of ethics and standards of professional conduct. Each level is tested at about 5 hours, right? When you're writing your exams. Now, level 3 is what we're concerned about. Level 2 rather, is the vignette supported multiple choice questions, right? And we've talked about those case studies, about how why not go to the question first, understand what they are requesting, what they're asking for. And it's interesting how, like Mr. Shagun said, your first question can be in paragraph 1. Second question could have been addressed in paragraph 2. Very, very interesting, right? And I'm glad that has helped someone tonight. Of course, the topic areas, from ethics to financial statement analysis to QM to equity, derivatives, alternative investments, among others, right? And level 2, this year, February, August, and November. Those are the 2022 dates. By 2023, it will be different dates. So now, I think 2023 will be May. I don't have that date here on this slide, but I can get that before the end of this. So New Frontiers, our story is one born out of a compelling desire, and the goal that we have is just to help ease the journey of every CFA exam candidate in Nigeria. I'm rushing. I hope I'm making sense to you. I'm rushing this so that we can go back to our speakers and take a few tips and more questions from the audience tonight. So please bear with me. So our founders went through this journey with little or no support of any kind. However, the vows turned into reality, the dream of every CFA candidate. And that involves candidates who have their finance backgrounds in finance and in non-finance as well. We have people who, we have a member of our faculty whose background was in medicine, for example, and a lot of people like that who didn't just pass the exam, they're now members of faculty, right? And today, after an entire decade, about 12 years now of pursuing this vision, our market has experienced significant leaps through the influx of about 3,000 professionals from New Frontiers, about 3,000 people from New Frontiers. You could hear Mr. Shegun saying he could just pick up his phone and call someone who was a student at some point. It's because there's hardly any office in this industry where you wouldn't find someone who is from New Frontiers, as it were. Our call to you today is that you will join the revolutionaries, not just for yourself, but that you will tell someone out there who is struggling. There's no need to struggle. The exams are already tough. Why complicate the process? Why not just let someone take the burden off you and let's add value. So here are founders. You're probably familiar with these faces. Ayokunle Ojo, CFA Michael Ahima, CFA Banji Feintola, CFA, and Olani Ogunbayo, CFA. These are our founders, and you probably interact with them as teachers or even at work. We have, why New Frontiers? The number one thing is the kind of faculty that we have is our biggest treasure. At New Frontiers, our faculty is our biggest treasure. The world-class faculty of leading investment professionals. When you come to New Frontiers, you are most likely you are being taught by industry leaders. It's charter holders who are highly experienced and skilled at what they are saying. They don't just talk the talk, they walk the talk, right? And it's been over 10 years of experience and leadership. We are actually about 12 years now. Scholarships, discounts, and special offers exist, all kinds on our website. You'll find them and you can apply for them. Of course, there are class assignments, tests, mock exams to reinforce the classes, and there is a no pass, no pay policy with, of course, terms and conditions apply, and candidate support. Yeah, like one of our panelists have mentioned tonight, jobs and career opportunities. People have gotten jobs and built their career. Started their career, as a result of being a part of the family with New Frontiers. And of course, the New Frontiers Impact Series, which is like a session like this free webinar we are holding tonight to help as many of us. This is Busola Jeje. At the time, she was equity researcher at Telima. Right now, she's portfolio manager at Cowrie Wise. She says, I'm happy to announce that I passed the August level 3 exams. My CFA journey has been filled with tears, caffeine, sleepless nights, and panic attacks, but I'm grateful to God that I finished at all levels at one sitting. Wow. Despite the tears and all, at one sitting, particularly grateful for the solid knowledge learned and how it has positively shaped my career. Special shout out to the Tutorial Center, New Frontiers Learning Center I use for all my levels, and my tutors. I'm sure you can see the names of faculty members right there. Okay, so right now, there are all kinds of learning routes for anybody who wants to come to New Frontiers. You could attend a regular program, whether physical or online, and that happens for 16 weekends, typically 16 weekends, sometimes shorter, but typically 16 weekends on standard. Then there are quick review programs for those who can make 16 weekends, but in 4-5 weekends, one dedicated month, that's the month preceding the exams. There are quick review classes that hold, for example, the level 2 class that we're holding right now. There will be a quick review class starting in, that will hold in July for the August exams. So the entire month is dedicated, and we've had very significant success at the quick review programs. And of course, at the regular program as well. Right now, we also have access to a self-paced mode of learning, whether for the 16 weekends material and for the quick review material. There is also an executive program that isn't here right now. It's for folks who require more flexibility. At that program, it's high profile networking when you're a part of that class for the executive program. You literally have control over your time, as it were. The timetable is in your hands. What we supply is the start and the end date. And there is, of course, you are being taught by the best industry leaders with you there, walking you through that process. And it's about 6 months for those who require more flexibility, just reach out to us if that is what you want. So whether it's the person who doesn't have the time and just wants a quick review class for 5 weekends, an entire month, or somebody who has 16 weekends to dedicate back to coming to classes and forming a network and a community of other students, or the executive program with high profile networking, high flexibility and all that, then there is something for everyone. That's essentially what it is. Just make sure you visit the New Frontiers Learning website and contact us, and we'll be able to reach out to you. Now, this is our calendar. We've exhausted this one from January to April. This is where we are right now. The classes that started in April are ongoing and will end in July for the August exams, for the level 2 August exams and the level 3 August exams as well. By July, there will be a quick review program for level 2 and level 3. That is the 1-month intensive program. It's been very helpful. We have a lot of testimonials from that as well. And of course, in July, there will be the level 2 program starting. Level 2 will start on the 16th. Yeah, the 16th of what do you call it, of August? Oh, sorry, of July, for the July to October class. That's for the November and February exams for level 2. November 2022, February 23 exams for level 2. You would be catered from July to October. In the meantime, for those who are already in class, their classes are ongoing. They still have classes tomorrow and on Sunday. And last weekend, they were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, taking advantage of the public holiday as well. And of course, there is a quick review level 2 and 3 program that will happen in July. Okay, this is it. July is full, is loaded. We have a level 1 class. This is level 2 program, but please inform someone out there, a colleague at work, family, and all that. Sorry, so the physical and online classes for level 1, there is a full level 2 physical and online class. Those are the regular program for 16 weekends. Then there is also the quick review classes that will happen in July as well. And of course, we now have a special package. I must announce this. For our NYSC and undergraduates. The CFA program, you can register for the CFA program now at your penultimate year. Then, of course, you can take the exams in your final year as well. And for NYSC, there's something peculiar about that program that we have designed for them. So if you know anybody who wants to start the CFA program in the NYSC year and say, I want to make the most of this year, we understand the peculiarity of their situation, and we have something that works for them and undergraduates as well. All right, so, okay, I think this is the last review I'm going to read to you tonight from Folashade Ogunbayo. The mock exams at New Frontiers Learning Center helped a lot. The feedback was always a good tool to judge my preparation level to each phase. If you need a prep center, New Frontiers Learning Center is the place. It's unbelievable how many intelligent people you have in one place. And I must say tonight that in terms of the mock exams, right now we have automated these things such that we allow you focus on just taking your classes so that you can finish in time and have a lot of time for revision. The mock exams are now automated. You can use them over and over again on the learning management system. Whether you're a student who is learning on the physical program or on the online classes or even quick review, you will have access to several years of mock exams on the platform. So that's that for that. So if you're going to contact us, newfrontierslearning.com is the place. Follow us at LinkedIn for New Frontiers Learning Center at LinkedIn as well. And this is the number to call for Bafemi or Mr. Iseka, who is our registrar. We'll be glad to hear you out, whatever it is at all. We just want to be a part of your success. We want to help you. You will succeed, but we want to be a part of that success story and help you on this journey. Like I always say, it's only someone who keeps quiet that doesn't know what is possible. You need to reach out to us for whatever support that you require on this journey. At this point, I'm going to go back to Mr. Shegun and Boluwatife. Okay, Oladoto Ayola, thank you. It says, is the quick review classes or weekend? Daily classes or weekend? Oh, weekends. Weekends, absolutely weekends. However, if you're someone who has the time, both day and weekends, what you can also do is to access the self-paced version of the quick review. When you call our team or reach out to us, if you drop your email, somebody on our team can reach out to you right now, or your phone number. You could send it privately in this chat. I could pick it up and somebody on our team will definitely reach out to you within the next 24 hours and tell you and guide you on what you need to do. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So if anyone has a question, this is where we take it before we take the final comment from Mr. Shegun and Bolu Atife, who have both been magnanimous enough to join us tonight, and it's been a very wonderful time. Audience have been really engaging, and thank you very much. So if you have any questions or anything at all, this is time to mention it. We'll be glad to take them now. So I could unmute you. If you could, actually you could unmute yourself and say something, or you could type in the comment section if you still have questions concerning level 2 and or any other thing at all. Do we have any questions, please? In the meantime, Mr. Shegun and Bolu Atife, you can begin to prepare your final words as we, as we bring this to a close tonight. I think it's been a really engaging one. Thank you, Ayomide. Thank you, thank you very much, sir. This was really enlightening. Thank you, Ayomide. Thank you. And I must say that this recording would be on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com, of course, search for New Frontiers Learning Center. It will be uploaded within 24 hours. Please go there and you can always watch this or share with somebody. If you subscribe, you will always get notification of new videos that we upload, and there'll be a whole lot of programs coming up. But in the meantime, we would also like to have your feedback. I don't know if you can all look at the chat section. There is a 1 minute, 1 to 3 minutes feedback form that you could help us fill to help us get better at what we are doing. Please, you can fill it right now, and let's get your feedback or anytime that you can, please. Thank you, Dr. Ayola. Great session. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like there will be no more question. So let me take. Thank you, Ijema. Ijema says thank you. It was worth it. Thank you as well for joining. It was good to have you. Let's take parting words, and I think this can even what we'll hear at this time can even be more helpful than anything you have heard. Trust me. So sometimes we keep the best till the last. So, Mr. Shegun, okay, let me take Bolu first. Bolu, what will be your final comments tonight for a level 2 candidate?
I'll just say put in your best, like do the very best that you can. And all the tips that Mr. Shegun has shared today, if you can put them into practice, I believe it will go a long way in putting you in a very good position. So yeah, those are the things I have to say.
Thank you.
Study very hard, prepare well, and hope for the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bolu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for agreeing to do this for us. And I look forward to doing this with you at level 3.
Thank you. I've also learned some great tips today, so hopefully I'll be back soon.
You will be back soon because you will pass. You will pass. You will pass. Amen. And we're going to celebrate. We will celebrate your success and bring you back to speak to level 3 candidates. By then you'll be a charter holder already. So it will be Bolu Atife Aderoju CFA. To call it correctly. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to have been able to share my journey so far. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bolu Atife. You're welcome. All right. So, Mr. Shegun, final words from you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Bolu, for accepting to also do this for us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think we'll touch on almost everything, but one thing I think we've also not addressed, based on experience of what people also ask, is this question of, we'll talk about whether do you attend class or not. Then there is this other very nagging issue about curriculum versus using other learning materials.
Thank you.
I will see that question coming across a lot of time for students or prospective candidates asking that kind of question. And my answer to this is very simple. I will still refer to what I said earlier. You have to know yourself. What works best for you. I think Bolu also mentioned that. Even when you are preparing, all the strategy we mentioned. What works best for you and why are you really writing the CFA exam? For me, it was very easy for me to know that I'm going to use the curriculum, because I'm not just interested in having the 3-letter word, say CFA after my name, because that is what some people just want to get. but I was really interested in adding value. And when you go to the curriculum, it will actually change your life forever in terms of the amount of knowledge you are going to gain from that particular program, because the curriculum is so detailed that you understand it. And if you're also going to be teaching as a teacher, you might not be able to teach it very well if you have not gone through the curriculum. So for me, it was easy for me to say I will go through the curriculum. But having said that, our circumstances are different. So people just want to do a crash program and just, so maybe some people prefer to use Wiley, Schweizer, and all the rest, because those ones are summarized version. But what you can support curriculum, maybe even if you're going to be using Wiley, it's also important to still go back to the curriculum to solve those end of chapter questions, to see whether do you get what Wiley is saying. And sometimes if the concepts are not very clear, you might still need to revert back to the curriculum to actually go and read those areas that are not very clear. So for me, it was easy for me to decide it was curriculum I'm going to use, because I've been used to reading big books as a science student back in secondary school anyway. All those are what textbooks we read back in the day. So it wasn't difficult for me. So curriculum versus other learning, just follow what works for you. That's what I would say. Then lastly, is also to summarize everything we said. Just prepare, pray, take time, sleep and rest, and all those other soft issues that Bulu mentioned. But lastly, I'll just close by saying the exam here, is actually very difficult and very challenging. But the reality is that just believe you can do it. And one thing I always tell people is this. When I wanted to start the exam, people say, the exam is ready, but people don't. I said, the question I always ask is, has it been done by anybody before? If it has been done by somebody, then I can do it. The person that do it does not have to hands, isn't it? Absolutely. So just believe in yourself that you can do it. And that belief, you have to back it up with what? Preparation and hard work. Then just like Muabutu will say, if you can think it, then you can do it, isn't it? So that's how we just close. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shegun. Very helpful tips tonight. So when you're talking to us, it looks like we are all your level 2 students in your class, the way you're talking. Once a teacher, always a teacher, right? So thank you very much.
And my dad was a teacher anyway, so maybe I just...
Wow, interesting. Oh, that is good. You've taken it to another level entirely now, so thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Shegun. This is not because you're on this call. It's just as it is with other faculty members. Students, people who have come to school, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So they always talk about constantly how faculty members go out of their way to help them. I mean, somebody had talked about how one of the founders was solving questions with him on a flight. I think there was a 6-hour flight. They met on the flight and he was solving questions with him. I used to wonder how these people find time. This is me working to help students succeed at New Frontiers. But these founders and these faculty guys are at another level. They have very busy lives. I wonder how they treat every student individually. They have an individualistic approach to attending to student needs. I mean, people tell me about, there was a case of a student who I hope to also bring to come share a story. During the pandemic, it was difficult. He was running a program somewhere else. Somehow he was taking the level 2 CFA program. I don't know how he was doing. How he planned to pull through, the CFA Level 3 program, and he was currently running another program. But what happened was, did you know that he did it online? But he told me that one thing that made him succeed was that he was always reaching out to teachers directly. Always reaching out to them directly. He told me as much as that night we had a meeting, we had a mini party for people who had just passed the level 3 exams at Cilantro at Victoria Land. And they came together, and when the teachers walked in, he said he was seeing them for the first time. He had never seen these people ever. Just being on the LMS, teaching in the heat of the pandemic, and he passed within 3 months of having to prepare. It was a bit tough. I mean, this was somebody who had not seen his level 2 result and paid for level 3 classes. This is not a story that I'm cooking up. This is somebody, in fact, I'm going to call him after this meeting and tell him the next edition you should come and share a story. Like he had a whole lot going on at the same time. He was fully employed working somewhere. He had another program he was running somewhere, and he had classes going on at the same time. And he winged it because he had very direct contact with teachers, and he had never seen them until the day of that party after he had passed his exams. So please, thank you so much, faculty, for what you do. We hope that we'll be able to do something to, to appreciate you on a bigger level at some point. But right now you are doing a whole lot, and we can't joke with that. And our biggest treasure at New Frontiers, again, is our faculty. Yes, we have this technology that enhances what we do. These days, a student misses class, a physical class, doesn't need to worry. There are recordings, there's access to resources online and all that. But again, you can't take away the place of the people who make this system work, and that's our faculty. And we appreciate you, Mr. Shegun. And we are one of the oldest members of faculty at New Frontiers Learning Center, and you enjoy what you do. Thank you so much again for coming out tonight.
Thank you so much, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So Bolu, thank you again. I'm looking forward to hosting you for level 3. Don't forget that you will be coming back very, very soon. So make sure you pass your exams. If you need anything, call Mr. Shegun. He will help you. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing you in class tomorrow. I know you're in school this weekend as well. Mr. Shegun, are you teaching this weekend?
No, I'm not very strong. So maybe next week.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. You were in class last weekend.
Yes.
I think. Okay. Yes. And you're one of those teachers who started your work early, so you're almost true, really. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you to our audience, very engaging audience. Up till now, we still have about half of you on the call. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Eze. Thank you, Fancy. Thank you, IJ. Thank you, Joma. Thank you, Ikena. Thank you, Luashel, Sahid, Sheyi, and Tumishe. Wisdom, Patrick, thank you very much. And Ayomide, take care of yourself. Please take care of yourself. We need you back on your feet. Smack that exam and let's know that you could. And it's interesting that even in your state, you could still join this session tonight. Anyway, we talked about health, so it's good that you joined. So please take good care of yourself, everyone. And
thank you, audience. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yeah, Mr. Shegun. Tumishe, thank you. He says it's insightful. So once again, please, Obafemi, you could drop the link for the review, for the feedback. It will take you just about 1 to 3 minutes. I've seen the form myself. It doesn't take a lot. We need to know what you think about this session. Please help us fill this form right away. It's been dropped there now, and thank you, Ikena. Thank you. And you will be able to get this video will be available within the next 24 hours on youtube.com, New Frontiers Learning. And if you attended, or if you plan to attend and you couldn't, you will get an email having this feedback form and the video recording, so that you can use and share with as many as you want as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again tonight, and to the New Frontiers team, the best team in the world, Obafemi Adebi, Client Engagement Officer, and Mr. Isiaka, our indefatigable registrar. I call him Vice Chancellor sometimes. Thank you very much for the work that you do and for putting this together. So thank you so much. We look forward to catching up with you again at our next edition of the New Frontiers Impact Series. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
#1 tuition center for the CFA exams in Nigeria. Our founders went through their CFA journey with little or no support of any kind. However, they vowed to turn into reality the dream of every CFA candidate earning the CFA Charter, irrespective of their backgrounds, finance and non-finance alike. It is this commitment to support our candidates that influences our engagement of a world-class faculty, partnerships, scholarship and discount offers, our online learning management system, and so much more. Our clients' outstanding results across all levels of the exams every year attest to the quality of our top-notch physical and online program in the last 10 years. That's right, we have been impacting the industry for 10 years and have supported about 2,500 professionals in that time space. Register with New Frontiers Learning today.